We live at a miraculous time in human history, about 200,000 years of fumbling and bumbling our way through. What we have learned is breathtaking. Today, I enjoyed the photograph from the Webb telescope that showed billions of galaxies. Only 100 years ago, we thought there was one galaxy and that we were it. And what a shift in how to think about your life, the miraculousness of it. To be a human being, to have a human life in billions of galaxies that we can see, at least from a distance. It's a miracle. I want to begin with a poem for you. In what century do we wish to live? I ask you. To live in the dark abyss of the male mind's dominance that keeps light out, shuts down feelings, where joy is suspicious and real freedom is hidden at a distant shore. In what century do we wish to live when women were property, to be done with as one wished, to be raped, brutalized, and burned at will? In what century do we wish to live? Give me the 17th century, when the ships set sail with the dark cargo of my ancestors, and the pilgrims set sail for a new world that they did not find, and the divine right of kings ruled the day. But fear not, this new world we have been yearning for our whole lives is already here in the butterfly garden of our soul. This talk was, I guess the word is stimulated by the Supreme Court's decision and announcement on Roe v. Wade. And I'm kind of an inquisitive person, so I like research. So I looked at Alito's strategy and plan, and then I looked at where he got that, and then I looked at where that judge got that, and I discovered the 17th century is what people are trying to remake. You know, it was a great century if you were a white male, or if you were head of a church. Not so good for everybody else. And I know we heard great stories about the Enlightenment, but recently I was sitting with a teacher and she said the Enlightenment was really great for about 300 people. And no one else got the benefit. True, a brilliant breakthrough, but the transmission of our breakthroughs in the social form is where we're stuck. Our search for paradise is on pause. It is on hold. And no one in the world knows that better than those of us who call ourselves Americans. The American dream was not born here. It was born oceans away in the hearts of mind, of empire, and those seeking a better life. Populated by ideas of a new world, but the seeds of human trauma from the wars of Europe were in the bodies of people who boarded those ships. The pain and suffering that was neglected and unprocessed and uncared for and unloved was on those ships, only to be reactivated when they landed. And so the genocide, the enslavement, et cetera, you know this story. But my point here is that we've been so enamored with the American dream, we have forgot about the American drama. That is what happened to people's lives, what actually took place in the day-to-day living and dying of human beings in this land we call America. The efforts to make a new place to live, for those on the ships from Europe, have a remarkable resonance with the old land and the old ways of thinking and the old ways of looking. The other thing about the 17th century I discovered is that's the century in which we invented belief as a social construct. And I'm amazed at what we can get each other to believe. It's just actually is absolutely horrifying to me. And a new colony was, his greatest desire was to have a safe place, a prosperous place, where everyone knew their place in God's kingdom. Of course, that's the God defined that they brought with them. And now, no matter who you are or where you are in the world, you are offered up as a sacrifice to the lords of self-centeredness, to the lords of chaos and profit. And, war is extremely profitable. It's a business, it's an enterprise. Eisenhower warned us about this, but of course we didn't pay attention. And how many now, our whole societies all over the world, I just heard from friends in Japan yesterday about Mr. Abe's assassination, and they are still deeply in shock that such a thing could happen in their place. The national egos that got created out of World War II, post-World War II identity structures in the world are fraying at the ends. What's happening in Ukraine is a clear indication of that. But what's happening here in the US of A is also an indication of this fraying. And on one hand, there's a part of me that remembers that everything, every phenomena comes and goes. That's how it is. That's the nature of reality. And I was recalling the 8 realization of great beings, a short sutra in Buddhism. And the first realization of great beings is that everything is impermanent and that political systems are subject to fall. So why is this important to be aware of? Because if you are willing to be in touch with the nature of reality, you don't have to fall too far. But if you're hiding from the true nature of things, your fall is never complete. It is very sad to me, the state we're in. My conclusion at this moment is that we have come to the end of America's adolescence. You could say that in the light, I think we've come to the end of the modern world's adolescence. We have new attitudes and new values around wellness. We have people turning money down so they can take a break to take care of their very life. We have people all over the world, both here and other places, who are isolated from society, who end up hating their life, and that hatred spills out on society. However, our efforts are successful in making our life a livable one, a joyful one, we cannot escape what has been unrevealed and unprocessed in our bodies and our genealogies and our history. Every time I see a conflict of whomever, I see trauma being made by all participants. And so I like to think of trauma, and what I mean by trauma is the destabilization of our nervous system. And when you think about the vagus theory in relation to this, the trauma we're now under in the United States, our classic responses from a nervous system point of view is to fight, which is what the Supreme Court decision was about, flee, look for some other place to live or to be, withdraw from society, or become immobilized. Your nervous system goes into a freeze, like a deer in the headlights. I was in the US a few months or so ago, leading some retreats, and I noticed so many people walking around like in the daze, just still shocked that January 6th could happen, still shocked that we decided not to elect a highly qualified person, Hillary Clinton, to the presidency, but we would rather elect an entertainer who is always under suspicion because he's a man and because he's a white man. That to me is very sad. Evolution success depends on our cooperative learning. All of history indicates this. Our success in continuing to grow and to learn is the foundation of adaptation of the species, to call Lord Darwin in. We've been taught that the strong survive. No, it's not the strong. What strong means in evolution is your capacity to adapt. That's what strength is. Strength is your flexibility of mind and heart to imagine what you've not imagined, to open up the space of your mind and your heart and your body so that you can feel connected to everything that is. This is the opportunity of being human. I meditate with birds every morning, in addition to other things, and I got a good look at one of them. Was looking at me and I was looking at it, and I looked in his eyes, and I asked, the question came to me, why do birds have eyes? And then I started thinking about all the other creatures. I looked online, I saw frogs, and I saw all these other creatures with eyes. And it occurred to me that those of us who do have eyes that can see, which is a blessing in itself, we have eyes so we can see the miraculous, the wonder of life itself. And so I watched animals watching life. We have a new puppy, and we took him to the beach recently, and he had never seen the ocean, and every day he was just sitting there. This is amazing. And this is how we are meant to live, amazed. But we have been conditioned by fear. We have centuries upon centuries and centuries of biological and mental conditioning for war. That has consequences for our psyche, people. That has consequences for what in vagus nerve research is called neuroceptivity, that I can feel what you feel. This is how my friends in Japan, to pick on them again, were out marching after George Floyd's murder. They could feel that pain. This is something that in America, we have punished each other for. Intimacy. Can't have it, don't want it, because it is not productive. What a sad way to imagine a human life. And I'm not against production. I think productivity and work is a wonderful thing. I work, I always have since I was a little boy. I just like it. But I'm not confused that work is the meaning of my life. My life is deep and wide like yours, touched by stars and moon dust. And it's a shame to think of ourselves as some little container Our identities are important, they function, but we need not be confused.